Welcome in, comrades. My name is Jack Sperry, and this is the Commanders Report. On today's show, I'm going to be breaking down some winners and losers on the Washington Commanders after the 2023 NFL Draft. Just the way the NFL Draft works. Some players win, some players lose. Same thing goes for coaches. Going to be breaking down some names for you guys here today. But before we get into today's action, make sure that you share this video on Twitter. If you want to help us grow here at the Commanders Report, this is a fantastic way to help out if you are already subscribed. All you got to do is click the share button below this video here on YouTube, select the Twitter icon, click post to Twitter, and then this is the important part. You got to tag me in your post on Twitter by using @Jack_Sperry. If you do that, I will give you a retweet on your Twitter. Help us grow the channel today. Really do appreciate it. Now let's get into some of these winners here. Number one on my list of winners for the Commanders after the 2023 NFL Draft is Sam Howell. I think Sam Howell, going into the draft, there were some rumors, some whispers that the Commanders were looking to potentially trade up or take a quarterback. They didn't even take a single quarterback, even in the middle to late rounds of this year's draft. So it's definitely looking like Sam Howell is going to be that number one quarterback. He's going to get his shot to be the starter of the Commanders next year. Now, of course, you bring in Jacoby Brissett, $10 million contract on a one-year deal in free agency, and he's going to have his shot as well. These two are probably going to be duking it out in training camp for that number one spot, but it seems like Sam Howell has won over the locker room, has won over the fan base, and it seems like he is going to be that guy for your Washington Commanders heading into 2023. So now the big question moving into next year is, will Howell have what it takes to be that franchise quarterback that you can move into the future with and lead this team to the playoffs? Because I think that if he doesn't make the playoffs here, Ron Rivera is probably going to get fired, and then they're probably going to get a new quarterback next season. So the pressure is definitely on for Sam Howell in just his second year. He's a fifth round second-year quarterback coming out of the University of North Carolina. Showed some good things in preseason, showed some good things in that game against the Cowboys to finish out the season last year. But, ever since he was coming out of college, I've always had issues with his throwing mechanics, his deep ball accuracy, the overall consistency in his game. I'm really hoping that in year two, he can really show out and do a great job for the Commanders, lead them to the playoffs. But I guess we'll have to see what transpires here over the next year. So let me know in the comment section, who is the better quarterback? Is it going to be Sam Howell next year? Type SH if you support Mr. Howell, or if you think Jacoby Brissett's the better quarterback and you think he should be the starter, type JB. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So the pinned comment is that top comment there in the comment section. Do me a favor by going in there during these ad breaks here and answer today's question. Second winner for the Commanders after the NFL Draft this year, Charles Leno Jr., left tackle. There was a lot of speculation the Commanders could be looking to draft an offensive tackle in round one. By the time the Commanders pick came up, all the good offensive tackles were really gone, right? You got Peter Skoronski was off the board, Darnell Wright was off the board, everybody was off the board. So they ended up taking Emmanuel Forbes instead, and then they proceed to not draft an offensive tackle for the remainder of the 2023 NFL Draft. So it does seem like Charles will be the left tackle next year, protecting whoever is at quarterback. You sign Andrew Wiley to fill out the right tackle spot in NFL free agency. Maybe not the best signing in the world. Gave a lot of money for someone that I kind of see as kind of an average tackle in the National Football League. And the thing with Charles is that he's a solid left tackle, man. He's pretty darn good in pass protection. Last year had an 80.9 pass coverage grade or pass blocking grade according to Pro Football Focus, an overall grade of 71.6. He's not the best run blocker in the world, which isn't exactly what you want to see, and he did allow 8 sacks last season. So you can definitely see why some people wanted to replace Charles coming into the offseason. It seems like the right opportunity just never really presented itself. You could still go get maybe a Taylor Lewan in free agency if that works out for you, but I guess we'll have to see what the Commanders want to do at left tackle for 2023. So if you're excited for Washington Commanders football in 2023, do me a favor and click that thumbs up icon and like today's video. It's a free and easy way to help out the channel, help us grow, help tell the YouTube algorithm to push this video out to other Commanders fans. I would really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for your support. And my third person here on this list of winners after the 2023 NFL Draft is defensive coordinator Jack Del Rio. I think that, the big thing with his defense over the last couple of years is that the secondary just hasn't been able to get right. And in those first two picks of this year's NFL Draft, you end up taking two really good secondary pieces here in Emmanuel Forbes, who is a perfect fit for his off-zone type of defense. And you got Jartavius Martin, one of the most versatile defensive backs in this entire 2023 draft class, someone that can play free safety, someone that I think is probably going to end up playing nickel cornerback for you moving forward. So Kendall Fuller had a really, really good season last year, was the 12th highest graded corner in the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus last year. And you got Emmanuel Forbes stepping in there at that other outside cornerback spot. I think he's going to have every opportunity to play next season, despite the fact that he is a twig. And then you got Jartavius Martin coming in there at nickel, and I think he's going to be a fantastic nickelback in the National Football League. And with Jack Del Rio, there is no more excuses. We all understand the stakes here. New ownership is coming in. Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio need to get this defense back up and running. They have an elite pass rush along the defensive line there. Now that they've spent some pretty high draft picks here on some secondary pieces, that needs to get fixed, and that needs to get fixed now. If it doesn't, and that secondary is still a problem in 2023, Jack Del Rio and Ron Rivera just simply won't be coaching with the Commanders next year. They will have new coaches in 2024, so it's definitely going to be a big year for Jack Del Rio. But there's always that thing. There's those high expectations of having good talent on your roster, but I would much rather have that high talent and that high expectation versus having little talent and little expectations. All right, so go ahead and subscribe to the channel for free Commanders videos here on YouTube every single week. We put out about 4 videos here for your Commanders each and every week. We try to cover a wide range of topics for you guys. We really do appreciate your support. Go ahead and click that subscribe button and turn on your notifications and select all there to make sure that you get notified for whenever we put out any of our free videos. Now let's get to the losers here on my list. Number 1, Benjamin St-Juste. Now this one I think is a little bit obvious. I think with the emergence of Kendall Fuller last year and then of course drafting Emmanuel Forbes, it seems like Benjamin St-Juste is going to take a bit of a slide here down the depth chart. Might be more of a rotational piece after really getting his shot at being the number 1 cornerback last year. Of course dealt with injuries, but even when he was on the field, Kendall Fuller was the best cornerback for the Commanders last season. And I see some people in the comments saying, don't you know anything about the Commanders, Jack? Benjamin St-Juste was supposed to be the number 1 cornerback last year. And you'd be right about that. But Kendall Fuller played his butt off last year, and then you're investing a very high draft pick in Emmanuel Forbes. I really do think that those two players are going to take priority over Benjamin St-Juste. And since you take somebody so high in the draft here to play outside corner, I think Benjamin is going to get the short end of the stick here. He's probably going to be a secondary he's going to have like a secondary type of role in 2023. Then another loser, in my opinion, for the Commanders after the draft this year is new offensive coordinator Eric Bienemy. Now, there's definitely going to be some roadblocks here for EB because he's coming here to really prove his worth as a potential candidate to be a head coach in the National Football League. But there are definitely some roadblocks now with this offensive roster after the draft that he's going to have to overcome. There's a questionable quarterback situation. No matter how you feel about Sam Howell, the fact of the matter is he is just not a proven entity. And Jacoby Brissett is a proven entity, but he's not really a proven starter, right? So you have a very shaky situation at quarterback. There's a very real possibility that the Commanders don't have a franchise quarterback on their roster right now. That's not great for Bienemy. Then a very shaky offensive line. I didn't love the signing of Andrew Wiley, particularly how much money they gave him. You don't replace Charles Leno Jr. You kind of signed some really weird pieces along the interior. I just don't know how this offensive line is going to shake out, and it's very, very possible that the protection here for whoever's playing quarterback is going to be a little shaky this year in Washington. And then also there's no great receiving tight end on the Commanders right now. You got Logan Thomas, who's okay. He's very, very mid, in my opinion. Bienemy is used to having a Travis Kelce level threat at the tight end position, and I really thought that they might go get a guy like Dalton Kincaid in the first round if he was available. They ended up not doing that. They didn't even take a tight end throughout the entirety of the NFL draft. So now you're going into next season with Logan Thomas as your best receiving tight end. Now you got some nice receiving weapons, right, with Jahan Dotson, Terry McLaurin, of course, Curtis Samuel. You've got some nice pieces there, but it seems like the Bienemy offense really relies on a great receiving tight end. And going into next year, he's not going to have that. So that's definitely some of the things that is going to be going on for Bienemy and some of the things he's going to have to overcome. And the pressure is on for him because this is a regime in Ron Rivera's coaching staff that might very well need to make the playoffs, or they're not going to, or they're all going to get fired. Right? If Bienemy does a great job at building this offense into something that's very sustainable, something that is very effective and puts points on the board, then Bienemy could absolutely be an NFL head coach next season, by this time next year. But if he can't make it work, it seems like everybody's going to get fired because those new ownership, the new owners are going to be coming in. They're going to want new leadership. I really do think that it's playoffs or bust for the Commanders heading into 2023. So will Washington be a top 10 offense in the NFL come next season? Let me know in the comments section by typing Y for yes or N for no. Can't wait to see what you guys feel about the Commanders offense heading into next year. And finally, on my losers list, it's head coach Ron Rivera. And like I've said multiple times already in this video, this is a playoff or bust kind of situation for this coaching staff, in my opinion. You got new ownership coming in, and if you don't make the playoffs yet again for your third straight year, it definitely seems like, Rivera could be in trouble. Let's just say that. And in my opinion, when you take a look at the draft class this year for the Commanders, following a pretty mediocre showing in NFL free agency, when I look at this list, I see Emmanuel Forbes and Jartavius Martin as the only players I feel confident are going to have a significant role on this team come next season. Now, Ricky Stromberg might have a chance to win a spot in camp, but other than that, you got maybe some rotational pieces in there, but it's definitely not any major contributors. So it certainly feels like Ron Rivera feels like that this roster is ready to go and make the playoffs. I guess that's just the big question. Is there enough talent here? Is Sam Howell going to have a good 2023 season and elevate this offensive roster? Is Eric Bienemy capable of running an offense without Andy Reid in the game planning room? There's a lot of questions that need to be answered here with this Washington Commanders team. And I think just adding 2 contributors in the entire NFL draft is definitely not a win for head coach Ron Rivera. That's going to be it for today's video, guys. I really appreciate you stopping by. If you are a real one, make sure that you check off the real one checklist here. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video, get in the comment section and answer today's questions. Watch until the end of the video to help us out here. And if you've made it to the end of the video here, you are already a real one. Really do appreciate you. And then also, if you want more Commanders and NFL related content on Twitter, you can go ahead and give me a follow at Jack_Sperry. That's going to be it for today's show, guys. I really appreciate you. And as always, hail to the Commanders.